Alright, you guys, so I got a lot of stuff to film on the truck today. Austin and I are gonna get busy on old Cliff. But first, I had to show you some of the most unique packaging I've ever seen. I don't really have time to dive into this. I've actually got to run and do some other things before we get started on the truck. But, you know, when you get packages, you can't stop. You got to open them and look. But look at this. Wow. Wowee. What do you think, Al? So when we get back, I'm going to dive in and hope that this thing is okay. It's a new ice tank. All right, so I told you guys that I have been busy. Allie and I have been making some moves, and we have got something huge secured today. We finally signed some paperwork on something that's going to do a lot for us in the upcoming future. But for tonight, Austin and I are going to be busy because may have some new goodies courtesy of Force Performance. Mr. Robert at Force Performance has come on board and saw something in me and saw something in Clifford, has saw an opportunity in us to invest in us, and has sent us something freaking cool. Let's take a look. So I told you guys we're gonna be busy if Austin ever gets off the phone. Squish. Got lots of boxes and stuff here, but take a look at this boy. We have got us a new turbo. Mr. Robert sent us a new turbo. This is his HD 8892. So this is an S400 base turbo. It's going to bolt right on in place of what we got. But as a matter of fact, it has an 88 millimeter turbo compressor wheel here. So the compressor wheel is bigger than what we had, but the big thing is that it has a much larger exhaust turbine in it. It actually stepped up from a 9688 is your typical S400 base turbine wheel, but this bad boy has a 9992 in it. So it is much more spicy. Typically when you have turbo stuff, the exhaust side, oh hello friends, hello. Because typically on LS stuff, the biggest limiting factor on turbos is the exhaust side. It's not always the compressor side. That's the side everyone likes to talk about, but in reality the turbine side is what backs up first. And Robert has hooked us up with a special little something here on this one to alleviate that problem. When us YouTubers get new turbos, we're supposed to take them out, put them on the vehicle, and just I know it's what we're supposed to do, but that's not going to be today. We got too much work to do. Austin, what you got there?
Ice tank, buddy.
Ice tank.
That's where you put your cold beer at.
Yay.
After a pass, you just...
Some Mickle Bobs, huh?
Yeah, buddy.
So I am going to put the new turbo on today. That's going to be on the agenda. But first and foremost, we have got to address some wiring on this truck that has been giving us not really any troubles. We've got the right stuff, but it's not as nice as we want. It's not really easy to work on, and it's relatively in the way. And it ain't the way it needs to be for race week. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to put in a new ice tank and new pump as well. The current setup is just too small. The 5/8 water lines and a little bitty Bosch pump that I have just cannot keep up with the demands that we have. But this new Rhodes race cars tank, this new EWP 150 Davies Craig pump, the new 1-inch or -16 AN lines, those are going to help us keep up. So while we're rewiring everything, we're going to go ahead and put this tank in because there's no sense in rewiring a pump twice or halfway doing it. We're going to take the opportunity to do it the right way, the best way possible when we can. So let's dig in. Guys, I gotta admit, if there's one thing I really hate doing, it is dealing with wiring. It is just such a pain to get it in the proper way. It's tough to make it look really nice, make it tough to function really nice. You have to really pre-plan everything that you're gonna do. So taking the step between just good enough, which is a lot of what I have now, and taking that step into something that's good, that's like actually has some forethought in it, actually has the proper equipment on hand, the proper cable management pieces on hand. Taking that step is something that costs someone almost nothing. This is a huge place that you can make your vehicle much nicer, race better, race more consistently, and You know, you can eliminate a lot of trouble just by having some really good effort into your wiring, and it doesn't cost you a whole lot more to do it this you know, this nicer way, to get wires where they make right angles, where they're away from heat, where they're out of sight and out of mind. It doesn't cost you much more to do it that way. So don't think that just because someone has, you know, a crap ton of really fancy wiring, most of that is them knowing exactly what they needed, where they needed it, and then how to get it done and executing it to a high standard, and not letting themselves get talked into doing something just good enough. That scientist is hard at work over there. Let's talk a little bit more about this turbo. So as I mentioned, this is an 88 millimeter compressor with your standard S4 88 on this side, plus his little fancy magic stuff there he can tell you all about. But this is going to make the most power for us is this bad boy right here. The back side that you never get to see, that's going to help me the most, because Robert says the limiting factor on almost all Turbo LS setups that are S400 based is the turbine wheel, because they have a 96 by 88 typical turbine wheel, whereas his units, his bad boy in this HD 92 or in this HD 8892 setup, the turbine is 99 millimeters. It goes from 99 down to 92 instead of the 96 to 88. So that extra millimeter really changes the EMAP and the back pressure that the exhaust system sees. Able to dramatically reduce the back pressure and stuff in the system. If you're able to reduce the back pressure that the system sees, you're getting free horsepower there. And based on the numbers that I sent Robert on my current S485 that I have from VS, he told me that he thinks that this Joker should make as much as 200 horsepower more. Now, 200 horsepower more brings me into some scary territory of my little stock 5.3, my stock head bolts and all. But you know what? We're going to see what happens. This weekend coming up, we have another foot brake race. It's going to be the same exact factory street class where we have to foot brake the truck, and we're going to give that one a shot. And we're hoping that with the fixed hot side, now that we don't have a gigantic hole in the bellow anymore, so we're hoping with that, as well as the extra power that this bad boy can give us out the back door, that we can go even faster despite not being able to use the trans brake. So let's talk about Forced Performance themselves just a little bit. Mitchell did a super good video on him. If you don't follow Mitchell, or if you don't subscribe to him, you should. And if you don't subscribe to me, you also should. And double check below, check the little box, because sometimes you'll think that you're subscribed because YouTube just suggests the videos to you when you're really not. So you need to make sure that you're actually subscribed. And since it's springtime, all of us YouTubers have noticed a pretty significant drop in views because everyone's out doing things instead of sitting around watching videos, which is good. But for those of you who are watching, I need you to like, I need you to share, I need you to comment, because those are things that pump the algorithm up. And if you think that people need to see me, then you need to do those things. Anyway, long story short, Mitchell has great videos on some really in-depth background on Forced Performance. But long story short, they have started in 1999, but themselves have been building custom turbos since 1996. And this HD line of turbos that I have, this is basically, Robert says this is where you don't have any extra bells and whistles that you don't need. It's basically just everything that does a good job. It is just what you need to do something really well. You don't have to overdo it. You don't have to overprice things. You don't have to do extraordinary things to get really good results. You just have to do all of the ordinary things right, and that's what this turbo does. It is great for people who like drive on the street. It is great for people who like to race, and it has Forced Performance total service and warranty behind them. So that is why it is a good unit for a lot of us, and specifically me. Now, if the message of just do a good job, invest more time and effort into something, or as opposed to money, sounds like you've heard that before, you have. That's coming from me, but that's why Robert at Forced Performance, I think he might have picked up a little bit on what I'm doing and agrees with me. We have a parallel there where his line of business, at least in this line of turbos, matches the exact message I've been giving you guys. It's more about the correct combo of pieces, the correct amount of time and effort put into something, than it is just spending outrageous amounts of money. So if you buy the right pieces from the right people and put together the right package, you can go really fast without being a total just hack, or without spending astronomical amounts of money. For the soapbox, what is the spaghetti man doing?
Yes. What a mess.
What a mess. Well, we got to get it right. This has been a long time coming. Something we've needed to do for a long time.
Yeah,
Nah. It has to get worse before it gets better, right?
Yeah, and it's as bad as it gets.
Ah, it ain't that bad. You did most of it.
Oh, God, don't put my name
You
on
did
that.
most of it. You did it.
Most of it's done at like 3 in the morning when it's like, hey man,
Yeah.
I don't care what it looks like, get me to the race, make it run.
Yeah, we have a lot of, that's good enough to make it to a race.
Yes.
So this is what I was just talking to the viewers about this. This is an opportunity to do something the right way rather than the just good enough way.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's a perfect project to do on a Tuesday afternoon.
yeah, so
Weekday.
it's
Got plenty of time to get it done.
yep.
And,
We're
right.
not letting ourselves talk ourselves into the just good enough talk. It's going to be one of those things that doesn't cost you any more money. It doesn't really cost much more to do this in a right way. It just takes a lot more effort, a lot more forethought. So that's what he's doing. He's got his little notepad right there. So we're getting to work. If you've ever wanted to know why people hate wiring, it's probably because they end up like this in a spaghetti pot, upside down, 10 feet in the air. That's what this is, a spaghetti pot. Going over our inputs and outputs and stuff here, so we decided to just totally redo the inputs and outputs, and mostly the outputs that we're currently using. So Mr. Spaghetti Man over there, Dr. Man, he's taking notes on what we currently have, so that way we can make sure that the new stuff that we do is gonna match. Let's get it. I'll just go ahead and show you guys kind of what I'm talking about here. Let me grab a light. So these are those wires. They are gray wires with tracer colors. I think we have gray and red, gray with red, gray with black, and gray with yellow. Those are the three that we're working with currently. And the gray with yellow is going to be trans brake. Gray with black is our boost solenoid, and the gray with red is going to be our other boost solenoid. I'm only currently using one of the solenoids, but remember, we did a few videos back, we got the truck set up for CO2, and although I'm not using it, I want to go ahead and wire it so that way when I decide to go back to using that, I've got it right there available to me, so that way I don't have to run wires for a third time. I'm going to go ahead and pre-wire the second solenoid for CO2, so that way whenever I'm ready for that again, it's right there. All I got to do is turn it on in the software and don't have to do, basically anything on the truck except for a little bit of CO2 line movement, but that ain't nothing. We're doing wiring today, and right now we're pre-wiring it ahead of the game. It's being preemptive on what we may do in the future. All of those wires that you've got there, staging output, boost, open loop. This is because I use an open loop duty cycle currently for boost control, and then E-fans. All of those are ground triggers. They send to ground to complete whatever circuit that it is that they're dealing with. So like the staging output, that's to the solid state relay for the trans brake. It's the one that tells it to A, trans brake, and B, pulse width, so that way we can bump into the staging beams. And then the boost open loop, that goes directly to the solenoid. It's such a low voltage circuit, low amperage, that you can just wire it directly in it. As it toggles and pulse widths and does its thing, it opens and closes the solenoid, so that way air can go where it needs to, either on top of or on bottom of the wastegate. And then the electric fan, that obviously just triggers a fan relay, makes them suckers come on and off when they are supposed to. Nothing to it. Spaghetti. It's a spaghetti. It's a spaghetti. I'm trying to look at you. It's a spaghetti.
A spaghetti.
Mwah. Mwah. So here we are, 1 a.m. My alarm goes off in 3 hours, and we have got exactly mostly only some of what we wanted to get done. But good news is that we have made good progress. Although it was not a lot of progress, we got the hardest parts of progress taken care of, and that was fixing prior mistakes. So, although we didn't get to check off everything that we had on our list done for tonight, we made huge strides as far as things that we wanted to get done and needed to get done, and fixing past mistakes and making the way that we're going to go moving forwards even better. So it's Tuesday night, well, Wednesday morning, it's 1 a.m. Both Austin and I have to work tomorrow. Can't thank him enough for hanging out this late. I'll probably just give him an ass whooping on Saturday at the track. He's going to come race with us, so that'll be my payment to him. He's giving me the pfft. I don't know if you can hear him. He's giving me the pfft, but nah, pfft, him we're gonna kick his ice, you name it. But anyway, we still got to mount the ice tank. We still got to mount the pump. We got the intercooler lines ran, the big fat fatty. I got a bunch of hose in my truck now. So that's all taken care of. The wiring, we made, like I said, huge strides on that. So we got all new outputs ran from the Holly instead of like coming out of the firewall here and under the carpet there and yada, yada, yada. They all come out in one nice, neat place with a nice grommet. They're all loomed. They're all terminaled. They're all ready to work as they were intended to work and not just in a good enough fashion. Next video, be looking for old Red to get the hi-ya. Look for Robert's Force Performance HD 8892 to go on instead. We're going to get all this stuff cleaned up. It is something, like I said earlier, it's got to get worse before it can get better. And anyway, sign them off, Austin.
Y'all have a good night. It's time for some breakfast.
My name is Dylan. I'm Diggins E71. We'll see you later. Keep digging.